Well, welcome. I'm here to talk about the WorryWoos, and this particular segment is about my friend Squeek. You may remember, and I have a slide here with all the characters on it, and it's an overview of them all, and you will see that we've got an asterisk against young Squeek. Squeek was called the monster in the bubble. And Squeek, I even gave this fella to my own grandson because he couldn't try anything new. So he's ideal for separation anxiety, or can't leave mum, wants to do exciting things, but it's just so hard to do them. And you'll see that there's a little book that accompanies with Squeek, The Monster of Innocence. And Squeek is having lots of trouble doing anything new. So you've got to ask yourself, with the child in your class, how confident are they? And look at this slide and you will see, here's your checklist. Do they make friends easily? Are they active and happy in their play? Are they happy with the way they look? Can they make decisions easily? Do they have energy in the morning? Are they interested in new things and taking initiative? Are they confident in tackling day-to-day tasks? Now, not all kids are going to be able to do that, so I don't want you to overread or overreact to the fact that some of those sometimes every kid has trouble with. I've actually put a poem down here because it's so telling of the importance of risk-taking. Sometimes people say, no, kids shouldn't take risks. They're not going to become confident, resilient, or anything if they can't take little risks. We're talking about good risks so that they gain confidence. And to laugh is to risk appearing the fool. To weep is to risk appearing sentimental. To reach out is to risk involvement. To expose feelings is to risk exposing your true self. To place your ideas and dreams before the crowd is to risk their love. To love is to risk not being loved in return. To live is to risk dying. To hope is to risk despair. To try is to risk failure. So it goes on. You can read the rest of it, but you can see that risk-taking is absolutely essential in a child's well-being. If you want to know what you can do to help build self-confidence and risk-taking behaviour, because healthy risk-taking, as I'll say it again and again, is so important. You start young. I have a slide here with these on, so if you can't follow everything I'm saying, you can read them there. Start young. You engineer graded risks to build up their confidence. You engage the kids in regular decision-making so they learn how to do it. You praise healthy risk-taking behaviour and choices. You role model yourself healthy risk-taking and confidence-building behaviour. And you have group discussions with the class about how our little safe bubbles, where we're reluctant to step outside those safe bubbles, and how important it is to do those, whether it's going to school, going to Nan's place, going on an excursion, going on a sleepover. They're all important. Group discussions about how kids can go about making choices. Discuss risk-taking reassurance symbols. I often give the kids a little cross or a magic stone or something and say, with this we can manage anything. And discuss outcomes of wrong and right choices. So that's what Squeek's all about. But importantly, how do you use them in the classroom? And we have a teacher with us, and Lavern is going to share how she embraces Squeek in the classroom. So let's talk to Lavern. So I have a Squeek, and with me is Lavern. She has her Squeek, which mine's a bit more used than yours, I think. So Lavern, how have you used Squeek and this monster of innocence and problems in sort of trying anything new? How have you used it in the classroom?
Okay. First I introduced Squeek by reading the book, The Monster in the Bubble. And we read the book and we had a series of discussions and questions on Squeek and how Squeek, what did it feel like to be inside the bubble? They had to describe what it was like inside the bubble. how Squeak was feeling inside the bubble. And there are pictures in here that shows Squeak has very sad eyes. So the children picked up on the sadness of Squeak inside his bubble. So we read the story, and the questions were, why did Squeak live inside his bubble? Was Squeak happy? Why or why not? What were some of the dreams that Squeak had? How did Squeak initially feel when the bubble went away? And one of the comments from my student was he was really freaked out when the bubble was gone and scared, but then he actually built that confidence up, knowing that he to try things on his own. And the other one was, what did Squeak end up doing without his bubble? So we read the story. The kids had to describe what Squeak's bubble would be like inside. Then we had to describe how Squeak is feeling inside his bubble. I then did a little science study on bubbles, and I love bubbles. And I got the children to blow bubbles with a bubble mixture and watch the bubbles. Now, if you study bubbles, when you first blow a bubble, there are colours that swirl, the colours of the rainbow that swirl all the way around the outside walls of the bubble. But then something happens just before the bubble pops. All the colours disappear, it goes white, then it pops. So the children had to watch this and figure this out, and I used that as an example that we all have our own bubbles, but just before they pop, they're clear and white, so no one can see them. In that way. And I showed them some slow-mo, there's some pictures of I've got photos of the kids blowing bubbles. And then we did it, I showed them the slow motion guys on YouTube, because they could actually see and watch the slow motion of the colours swirling and how beautiful it was. But then at some stage, every bubble has to burst. And that's how I used it for the story. Then I found a literacy shed writing activity where a little girl walks along the beach. She's very, very sad. It's called Bubbles. And she finds a bubble mixture and she blows the bubble, and then the bubble makes her face light up. She hops on top of the bubble and she goes on a journey and an adventure. Then I got the children to write stories about their journey with their bubble. So that was one of their writing activities. The second, another activity we did was dreams. So we looked at Squeak's dreams and what Squeak dreamed and wanted to do, but he couldn't because he was inside his bubble. And one of the two things was being brave and being bold. So I used those two words in the class, and the students had to write their own dreams, starting with being brave and being bold, and then they wrote all their dreams down. Then we did the bravery badges. And the students, being brave and bold, had to draw something on their badge that they were either fearful of, and by wearing the badge would make them be brave and bold. And I had some very, very good little outcomes with that. And there's a photo of the students wearing their badges. I did some bubble artwork where the students, this is their bubble artwork here, where the students drew bubbles, and then we talked about ourselves inside the bubble and ourselves without the bubble to link back into the story. And we played it's called the M&M's feeling game. I'm not sure if you're aware of it or not, but every child gets a little packet of M&M's. And they sit in a circle and they have to share, but one at a time. They're not allowed to peek into their packet. They open their packet, and then one at a time in their circle. And I've got them we've got special circle mats that we purchased for the school a few years back. So they're sitting in their circle mats, and one at a time, each student has to take out a M&M. If they pull out a red M&M, they have to say something that makes them happy. If they pull out a brown M&M, it was something that made them sad. If they pulled out a green M&M, they had to say something that made them angry or makes them angry. Yellow M&M was something that makes them excited. A blue M&M, they had to say one poor choice that they had done through the day and what they could have made done differently. And the orange M&M was a good choice that they had made today. The kids loved it. And being in their circles, it was just interesting listening and watching as they just went around their circle, sharing circle, and discussed their different feelings. And having the colour, they could only eat their M&M after they had shared that emotion. So they loved that one. And then we drew coloured in some pictures of Squeak, one of our quiet downtimes through the week. So I think for me, out of all of the different activities, the bravery badges worked a treat with them wearing their bravery badge. One of my little boys is a Vietnamese little boy, and he drew his badge and coloured it all in blue and had a square, black square, and him in the middle of it. And I couldn't figure out what it was, so I asked him. And he said the square bit was the pool, and he was in the water and he's fearful of deep water. So everything that the students actually put on their bravery badges actually meant something more than quite powerful, I think. So I got a lot out of it as well. So that's how we use Squeek in our classroom with a few different activities.
I think that's just wonderful. It's I was going to say mind-blowing, bubble-blowing. It's just wonderful exposition, and I'm sure, well, a lot of people benefit from your wisdom and your ideas. Lavern, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.